Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendolife here, and today we're going to be looking at just a handful of the very finest games coming to the Nintendo Switch in the month of May. Whilst we do have a veritable baker's dozen of lovely games to look at, this is of course not every game coming to the Switch in the month of May. There's loads of stuff that hasn't been announced yet, and other stuff that we just didn't include. If we didn't include something you really love, sorry. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Starting things off on the 2nd of May, we have got Duck Game, which is... there's a genre for this, but I can't remember what it is. It's a multiplayer game. You run around trying to shoot your opponents. It's really quick fire, if you'll maybe pardon the pun. Is that even a pun? It reminds me a lot of Towerfall, and I had a lot of fun with that, only this time it's got ducks and... maybe isn't taking itself as seriously? Not that Towerfall really did. I can easily see this just being one of those games that you get out at a party, you don't really play it by yourself, but when you got some friends over, you just sort of bring it up and say, hey, who wants to play a little bit of Duck Game? And people may initially look at you a bit funny, and then realize that actually it's a lot of good. Then on the 7th of May, we have got Puyo Champions, and it's only bloomin' Puyo, innit? We've already had Puyo Tetris, which was unsurprisingly a combination of Puyo and another game. And this time it's basically the standard Puyo experience and potentially more focused, I'm not sure. Puyo is always good value, always a good time, and even though it's not called Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, I'm still gonna give it a look. Provided, of course, we can at least reduce the volume of the people speaking. Stop! Similarly, on the 7th of May, we have got Shakedown Hawaii, which is by the same people who only went and did Retro City Rampage, and if you've played that, you know it's going to be a good time. Much like Retro City Rampage, you're going to be running around in an open world in a sort of pixel art style kind of deal, only this one is going to be a lot deeper and go in a lot more depth. And deeper as well. And depthier. The coolest thing in my opinion is the fact that the world is actually destructible as well. So all those buildings, you can make a mockery of them. Then on the 10th of May, we have got Saints Row the Third, the full package. Now, I have to admit, I've never really been able to get into the Saints Row series. I don't know why, something about the humor just doesn't really sort of gel with me, I suppose. But even so, I know myriad people who really enjoy this game, and the fact that it's coming to Switch can be no bad thing at all. If you don't know, it's an open world, sort of semi-GTA style game, but it doesn't exactly take itself seriously, to say the least. I mean, GTA doesn't take itself that seriously, but in comparison, it's the bloody Godfather. Moving on to the 14th of May, we have got Sniper Elite V2, and there's probably a subtitle after it. Remastered. If you hadn't gathered from the title, in this game you play as a sniper who's pretty good, some might even say elite. You're going to be using your sniping skills to be taking out key targets, as well as potentially less key targets, but ones that might cause you some bother. And it comes with all the DLC. What more can you ask for? If your answer is Sniper Elite 3 Ultimate Edition, we're getting that in the future as well. Castlevania Anniversary Collection. It's coming out on the 16th of May! This is, unsurprisingly, a collection of Castlevania games. It includes Castlevania, Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, Super Castlevania 4 Castlevania The Adventure from the Game Boy, Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge from the Game Boy, Castlevania Bloodlines from the Genesis, or Mega Drive, and Kid Dracula. Hang on, what? Okay, blimey, I had no idea Kid Dracula was coming in this as well. Does that mean it's canon to Castlevania? I never played Kid Dracula, so I don't know. 8 classic Castlevania games, how can you really argue with that? Maybe you can, in which case, maybe we shouldn't get that dinner after all. Also on the 16th of May, we have got Bubsy Paws on Fire. What's this doing here? This is surprisingly an auto runner in a similar vein to the Bit Trip Runner series, which isn't terribly surprising considering I think it's in the same engine as Runner 3, and I'm pretty sure it's made by the same people. Now, I can't help but express a slight reservation about this because it's a Bubsy game, but even so, you know, I mean, if it's made by the people who made Runner, it can't be all bad, can it? I couldn't tell you why they decided to go in this direction rather than just making another Bubsy game like they have done in the past, with, what was it, the Woolly Strike Back or something? But I can't really complain, you know, this is probably going to be better than a normal Bubsy game. Maybe, I don't know, we'll find out, won't we? And the third game on the 16th of May is Darkwood. This is a top-down horror survival game that very proudly claims that it doesn't rely on any jump scares. Instead, it's just a massive amount of dread, which is, oh, that sounds like fun. Sounds terrifying, but it sounds fun. I think what I like most about this game is the fact that it gives you that sense of isolation that you get in games like Metroid, only it takes things to a completely new extreme by making it scary. Moving on to the 20th of May, we have got Resident Evil 4, and if you need any convincing, it's Resident Evil 4, Google it. Resi 4 was a massive step forward for the series before it took several steps back with 5 and 6. It managed to evolve beyond what the previous games were, without actually changing it so much that it just became a standard shooter. Again, 5 and 6. Absolute classic, considered by many to be the best in the series. Check it out. The very next day, on the 21st of May, that rhymed, we have got Resident Evil Origins Collection, which contains Resident Evil HD and Resident Evil Zero. Resident Evil HD is, unsurprisingly, Resident Evil in HD, whilst Resident Evil 0 is a prequel to Resident Evil, and then therefore presumably Resident Evil HD. Both games in a single package, on the Switch, on the go. The Switch is starting to get every game that ever existed, isn't it? And I'm not complaining. Nintendo, do that with the Marios. The very same 21st of May, we are also getting Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered. I must admit, when I first saw it running, I can't remember, I think it was in a direct or something, there was some sort of, you know, oh look, Assassin's Creed 3, and it looked like it was running like dog poo. Since then, however, new footage has emerged, and it actually looks like it's running blooming good, so I was skeptical to begin with, and I'm very pleased to be proved wrong, because 3, for some reason, I never played. I played the original, 2, and then jumped right to 4. I think Brotherhood put me off. Takes place in colonial America. I'm not sure I mean colonial, but I've heard mixed things about this particular entry. I think maybe when it first came out, people were still hung up on 2 being the best thing ever, and over time, people have warmed to it a little bit more, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out when it comes out. And on the final 21st of May of 2019, which is also the first, we are also getting Team Sonic Racing, which we haven't seen an awful lot of, specifically not the Switch version, which leaves me a little bit wobbly. It's being made by Sumo Digital, who've made all the previous Sonic Racing games, not including that one. So I have a decent amount of faith in it. However, when I did play an early build on the PS4 back at EGX last year, so that would have been, what, like September? It didn't exactly run well, to say the least, and that was on the PS4. It may have even been a Pro, I'm not sure. All I know is that, hopefully, it runs a lot better than it did then, because it wasn't a good. It's been a long time since then, though, and I'm sure they've managed to get things sorted. If not, oh dear, but it should be a laugh anyway. And then finally, on the 29th of May, we have got the indie horror delight, and I use delight in a very broad sense, Among the Sleep. I keep wanting to call it Amongst the Sleep because I always prefer the st forms of words like that. This is a game where you play as a baby, and it's not shy about it. And it's not exactly shy in any other regards either. It looks absolutely bloomin' terrifying, and I don't know whether it's just me, but it seems to tap into something in the back of my head like proper childhood nightmare stuff. And there's a bear that I don't trust. Should be a good laugh, it's been well received by critics, and again, it's another game coming to Switch, which is never a bad. And there you have it. That is just a fraction of the loveliest games coming to the Switch in May 2019. Did we miss out your favourite game that you've been playing since you were just a wee laddie? Then let us know down there in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you count your eggs before they hatch? Your eggs being that subscribe button and counting being the click. And be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.